Hello friends, welcome to Feeding Artists. My name's Amanda and today we're going to be talking about music. So I wanted to make this video just to end out the year of 2020, going over my favorite albums and EPs of 2020. And I'm just going to be separating this music into sort of more like metal, heavier, darker type stuff, and then also more like pop, indie, like more chill stuff, just since I know the same person might not listen to both. And yeah, this video is just a fun thing I want to do to go over sort of the things that I enjoyed the most. I'm not necessarily analyzing for like musical expertise or anything like that. I'm just sort of going over what I personally enjoyed. So if you like this video, please be sure to give it a like and comment your favorite album down below. I'd love to hear it. And with that, let's get into the music. So the first EP that I want to start with is The Black Moon by Holy Fawn. If you know me and you talked to me at all, like ever in your life since I found out about Holy Fawn, I've probably told you to look them up because they're one of my favorite bands in the entire world. So The Black Moon only contains 3 songs, and of course I would always love more, but it was really nice to get some new songs from Holy Fawn this year, and I'm really excited to see what they put out next year. I know they just put out another single recently, which was pretty good if you want to check that out. But Holy Fawn's a really special band to me. Their music actually helps me like get rid of my headaches, which is like near impossible by any other means, so they'll always be one of my faves. The next album I want to go over is May Our Chambers Be Full by Ruth, Rundle, and Now. So this is a brand new like album, artist, whatever, all that stuff for me. And to me it kind of just sounds like if Chelsea Wolfe and Death Heaven had a baby, which is absolutely perfect. I love both of them so much, so this is really cool to listen to. My favorite song was definitely the first one, Killing Floor, but I just think it's so cool just like having the more like atmospheric female vocals mixed with like the black metal vocals. I'm like really not a big fan of black metal and of that like particular vocal style, but it works on this album. I like it. The instrumentals are cool too, so it was definitely enjoyable, and I want to look into both these artists more in the future. Alright, so going to our next album, to me this has a very similar vibe to the last one, but it's just like a little bit heavier, so if you want something heavier, this might be a good one. And this is A Sense of Impending Doom by Just Art Dead. So this album primarily has 2 people as guest singers. We have a dude named Matt and a girl named Alice. If anyone knows anything about this Matt dude, like let me know, because I looked him up and it's only coming up as like a country singer by the same name, and I cannot imagine it's the same person. So if you know who this dude is, if he has a band or something, like I really want to check out his stuff because his vocals are so good. So please let me know in the comments. But I actually found this band through Alice, who runs a handmade jewelry store called Red Tail Jewelry. I've been following her on Instagram for several years at this point, and I saw that she was doing guest vocals on a metal album. And so, of course, I had to look it up, and it's really good. I really like it. I've been listening to a lot of music, like specifically to make this video, because I'm god-awful at listening to new music. So a lot of these things I've only listened to once, so I might not have like a ton to say about it. But I just looked this album up recently, and I really enjoyed it. I liked both people's vocals. I probably prefer Matt just because I like gutturals a lot, but they're both really good. I don't know what to say other than it's just like really good. I really enjoyed it. So if you're into like heavy, like death doomy type music, you should look it up. It's good. Promise. Alright, so now we're gonna get back into bands I know a little more about. This next band's called Rezn. They're a small, like, psychedelic rock, stoner metal type band from Chicago. And they released an album called Chaotic Divine. And first thing I just want to mention real quick, the album art for this band is so good. They have a tattoo artist in their area design all of their album art. I'm just going to put all 3 albums up on the screen right now because they're all so good. And that's when I originally found this band. And I was really drawn in just by the album art. Their 2018 album, Black Calm Water, with the little like monster thing coming out from the bottom, like that's so cool, and I feel like I haven't seen album art this cool in a while, so I just wanted to give a shout out to the artist. I'll put his Instagram on the screen so you can check him out if you want. Really, really cool work. But now getting back into the music is also equally as cool if you ask me. I'm not normally into like really like slow metal atmospheric-y type. No, I am. I totally am. This is a lie. This album did a really interesting thing for me where once I got halfway through it, like the whole second half of the album, I just, like, it almost felt like I wasn't even listening to music. I don't know. It just, like, flew by in, like, the weirdest way that it's so hard to describe, but I guess it just sort of put me in just like such like an atmosphere and such a new place that it's like I almost forgot that I was listening to music. It was just, this is my world now. I think definitely this is going to be one of my go-tos for like when I'm drawing or painting or doing artwork, just because I really like the mental space that it gets me into, if that makes sense. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check them out. They're a really, really cool band. All right, this next one, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it correctly because I am horrible at pronouncing things, but this is Ultima Pluvia by the Gloom in the Corner. This is another one that I have found recently. However, I am obsessed with this band right now. Like, their vocalist is so good. My favorite song in this album, which is also potentially my favorite song by this band, is called Warfare. And this is such a cool song because their vocalist goes through like so many different vocal styles. And I think it's relatively short too. Like, yeah, it's only 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Like, the fact that they fit so much into what for a metal song is a relatively short, like, length is insane. Like, please go listen to this song. It is so good. I occasionally hear music and it just like makes me want to cry because of how much I love it, and this is one of those songs. I'm probably overselling it at this point, but like it's really good. It's really good. The cool thing about this EP is that it kind of starts out with the first one has primarily gutturals, and then the second one's a pretty good mix. Third one's primarily cleans. So you can sort of go through it, and whatever vocal style you like, probably one of those songs is gonna hit on it, if not all of them. But I love this band. I can't wait to hear more music from them. Listening to this band really makes me sad that I can't go to live shows, because I would kill to see this band live. Like, oh my god. Oh my god. Ah! Okay, so this next album I actually found through the Gloom in the Corner because their vocalist did a song with them. The band is Loathe, the album is I Let It In and It Took Everything. So in making this video, I kind of looked at a few lists of like best albums or whatever just to see if I like missed anything. And this was pretty high on a lot of those lists, and I have to say I agree. It's a pretty cool album. It wasn't what I was expecting. So Loathe is kind of categorized as a metalcore band. They have some songs that definitely lean more metalcore, but overall, the whole album, probably over half of it isn't really metalcore. And I'm not just saying like, oh, whatever, it's not metalcore. Like, it's not. It's just not. They remind me a lot of a band called Black Map, but I'm pretty sure that band might be less popular than Loathe, so I don't know if that's a good comparison for people. But essentially, they kind of have that sort of vibe where it's like, their music comes off as like slow and calming, but it's still very heavy. I think this band's really cool though, because they're coming into the metalcore space doing something very different. I think the fact that they have songs that are a lot slower and kind of like more calming makes the heavier, more metalcore-y stuff just like hit a bit harder. Because I think the downfall of a lot of metalcore bands nowadays is just that all the songs sound the same and they're trying to make them all heavy, which in turn makes them all less heavy because there's no contrast. So I think that's why this album really got like good reviews, and just by me personally, like I enjoyed it a lot as well. Okay, the next album is the Octagonal Stairwell by Pig Destroyer. Now, I started listening to this band earlier this year, and they're kind of one of those bands that like I don't want to listen to all the time, but when I do, like they hit. You know? The most interesting thing I feel like I could talk about with this album is the last song, Soundwalker. When I first heard it, I originally kind of got like Nine Inch Nails vibes. It just feels very atmospheric to me. It takes up about half the length of the EP. It's definitely very different for Pig Destroyer because, you know, it doesn't have like their whole vibe. But I think it's a cool song. I've definitely been getting more into like atmospheric stuff this year, so definitely hits harder with me. Yeah, I don't know. I think that song's good if you're into slow atmospheric stuff, and if you're not, then just listen to the rest of the EP and you'll enjoy that. Okay, the next album is Hunter Gatherer by Avatar. So it's been a hot minute since I've listened to this band. They used to be my ex's favorite band. We broke up like 3 years ago. Haven't really listened to them since. Also, I thought their last album just seemed very gimmicky with the whole like king thing, so I wasn't really like vibing with that too hard. But I had a friend that said this album was really good, so I was like, alright, I'll check them out again. My favorite song, I would say, like, by far on this album is When All But Forces Failed. Such a cool song. Seems to be one of the less popular ones. Don't really know why. The rest of the album's pretty good, too. I did enjoy all of it. but I actually think I enjoyed the second half more than the first half. So yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. Alright, next album is Lamb of God's self-titled album. Lamb of God is one of my favorite bands of all time. They're the band that basically got me into guttural vocals for metal, so they're really important to me, and I got into them with their last album they released in, I think, 2017, so this is sort of the first album that's, like, new since I got into them, so I was definitely really excited for it, and, I mean, yeah, it's a Lamb of God album. I don't really know what else to say about it, but it's good, and I really want to see them live, so if Corona could go away, that'd be great. Thanks. Alright, next album is Post-Human Survivor Hour by Bring Me the Horizon. I know their last album, Ammo, got super bad reviews for being very pop. I've recently listened to it. I don't think it's that bad, but I've also, I have a whole pop section of those videos, so clearly my music taste has changed a bit. But this album is significantly more metal, as you may have gathered, and I do really like it. I think it relies a lot on features, which I'm not, 100% sure how I feel about that. Some of them, I think, did better than others. My favorite song on the album is probably One by One with the Nova Twins, so definitely like that feature. His song with Youngblood was really good as well. But some of the other songs, I literally cannot stand baby metal, so, that song was just... No, we're not having that right now. So I didn't like that song. It's really the only song I, strongly disliked on the album. I also didn't really like the song he did with Amy Lee. Nothing against Amy. I think she's a great singer. I don't know, the song didn't really do anything for me. So, bit hit or miss there, but overall, I think they're sort of bringing back almost a similar vibe to That's the Spirit, which was probably my favorite album by them. Alright, and last thing on my favorite, metal-y type stuff. This isn't an album or an EP, but I kind of have to mention it, and that's Trilogy by Silent Planet. So this is a song they released, very early in the year. If you know me, you know I absolutely love Silent Planet. At this point, they might be, my actual favorite metal band. Their last album was insanely good. I'm so excited to see where they go from here. But Trilogy, again, was one of those songs when I heard it, and I just literally felt like crying because I thought it was so good. So yeah, that's always going to be a favorite. It's just one song, but if you look up anything from this video, look up that song. It's so good. Alright, and now, remember when I said the metal section was over? It's actually not over, because I have some honorable mentions. So my first one is Anti-Icon by Ghostemane. The reason why this is in honorable mentions and not in, full albums is because I really liked Lazaretto and Hydrochloride, and those songs are, top tier songs for me. They're really good. But the rest of the album in comparison isn't, nearly as good as those songs. I'm not gonna say it's bad, because I don't think it's bad and I'm still gonna listen to it as a full album. I feel like with the creation of those two songs, other songs could be so much better, right? Does that make sense? You get what I'm, saying here? What vibes I'm trying to give? Just listen to Lazaretto, listen to Hydrochloride. If you want to listen to the rest of the album, you can. But I'm going to be playing those songs a lot more than the rest of them. That's all I'm saying. Alright, so next honorable mention is Abyss by Unleash the Archers. Reason why this is in honorable mentions and not in full albums is because I really don't listen to power metal anymore. Their last album was probably the last power metal album I listened to, and that was 2018, 2017 or something. So, am I going to go back and listen to this album again? I don't know. There's a good chance the answer to that question is no. Do I think it's a good album? Yes. So if you're into power metal, definitely look it up. Brittany Slays, who's the lead vocalist for this band, has an amazing voice, amazing range. So if you're into sort of just powerful female vocals, you might want to check them out for that reason as well. This is the first album that I heard of from Unleash the Archers. It's called Time Stands Still. Honestly, if you're going to look up this band, I would recommend this album, and I'm probably very biased because this is the first album that I heard. So it's the one I've listened to the most, and I just have an emotional attachment to it. But I do think this is the best power metal album potentially ever, so you should listen to it. My favorite songs off of their new album Abyss are Return to Me and Soulbound, so if you want to only listen to a few songs, those are the ones I would recommend. Alright, so moving into the pop, chill, indie, whatever category that we're going into right now. One of my favorite albums of this category easily is Dreamland by Glass Animals. If you've talked to me at all this year, you've probably heard me mention Glass Animals. If you've been in my car with me at all this year, you've probably listened to Glass Animals. So I love this album so much, and I love this band so much. I'm pretty sure I found this band like end of last year, early this year. It was like right when like some of the singles from this album were starting to come out, and then the actual thing came out, and it's like all I listened to for like several months. I'm gonna be honest, I am getting a little sick of it because I think I've listened to it too many times, but if you don't do that and you just consume it at like a normal rate, it's a very good album. My favorite song is definitely Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Just has a really cool vibe to it. I also really like Your Love Deja Vu, and they just released like a stripped back version of it, which I'm also obsessed with. So yeah, would recommend. Next up, we have probably the artist that got me back into like pop music, whether you want to say that's a good thing or not. This is Sam Tompkins, and he released an EP called Isolation Diaries this year. Really cool EP. Again, I think Sam just seems like a really cool guy. I think this is all acoustic songs, so if you're into like acoustic pop type stuff, this is definitely something to check out. My favorite song on it is probably Stand 10 Feet Away From Me. Alright, next EP is going to be Midnight by Boon. And this one I've had like kind of a roller coaster ride with already. I've only been listening to it for like a month or two, but a lot of times pop music kind of like filters through my brain differently than like metal stuff. Of the poppy songs on there, which I would consider I Might Like You at Midnight. Midnight's definitely my favorite. I'd recommend that one. Family Reunion's kind of like mid-tier song for me. Like it's alright. It definitely has a different vibe than the other ones, which I appreciate, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. But The Pharmacy is actually really cool. It took me probably like 5 listens maybe to get into it. But after listening to this EP a fair amount, The Pharmacy is easily my favorite song on it. Kind of has like a nice like groove to it. Like once you like vibe with it. I don't know. I'm bad at explaining things, but it's a cool song and I would recommend it. Next album is Glue by Boston Manor. So this is, vibing a little more towards the rock side of things. Boston Manor is one of those bands that I've just kind of like, I don't know, they've been kind of like a mid-tier for me. I've never been like super wild about anything that they've done. But this album I think is pretty solid. I did really enjoy it. I'll definitely listen to it again. Yeah, I was excited to hear new music from them. I think it's probably the closest thing to rock that I've liked this year, which is super weird for me because normally rock's like my number one genre. But yeah, they're a good band if you're into like kind of like Warped Tour pop rock type stuff, I guess. That's sort of how I would describe them. Then you'll probably be into it. Alright, these next two are going to go more towards the indie spectrum. The first album is Born Again by Ellis. I actually found her because of a playlist made by the singer of Holy Fawn. It's supposed to be a monthly playlist, but he hasn't updated it since like July or some shit. So it's not really monthly anymore, but I heard one of the songs by Ellis. I thought it was really cool. Looked up the whole album, and I got really into it. This was back in like July or something. Honestly, I haven't really listened to it since then, but I enjoyed it when I did, and I should listen to it again. And you should listen to it too. Alright, and the last album on this list is Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers. I know a lot of my friends are like absolutely obsessed with her and like this album specifically. I'm definitely not like that into it, but I do think it's good. I didn't really like her past stuff, but I did enjoy this album, and I think I'll definitely listen to it again. It has a really cool vibe. It's pretty chill. I'm definitely not the person to talk about her because I don't know that much, so that's really all I'm gonna say, but I do think it's a good album. So now we just have our honorable mentions again. So the first honorable mention is Everything Means Nothing by blackbear. If you've seen my stories, you know that I have indeed been listening to blackbear, which is very off character for me as someone who has mentioned all those other metal bands earlier in the video. But if I hear a bop, it's a bop, and I want to listen to it, and he's got some bops. My favorite songs of this album would probably be the obvious choice of Hot Girl Bummer, because like everyone's obsessed with that, and I would say for good reason. I mean, it gets stuck in my head a lot, so. But I also really, really like Sabe and Cabo, which I feel like is really underrated, so if you haven't heard it, go listen to it, because I think it's really good. So the reason why this album is in honorable mentions and not in like favorite albums is just because I feel like after Sabe and Cabo, it really like rolls off. The only song after that one that I like is Half Alive. Everything else like those songs didn't exist, I'd be chill with that. Like, they're not horrible songs, but they're not great. And I feel like the beginning of the album, like, I was really, like, vibing with it, you know? And I just wasn't vibing with the end. So to me, it's one of those albums where, like, for the most part, the first half's good and the second half kind of isn't. And since all the other albums I really liked from, like, beginning to end, I just didn't feel like putting it on the main album list. Alright, next honorable mention, and this is gonna go more on the rock side of things. This is Moral Panic by Nothing But Thieves. I really like this band. It took me a while to get into them just because they tend to be sort of on, like, the softer side of rock. But as I started listening to more, like, chill and, like, calmer music, I got really into them. There's some songs in this album that I'm, like, obsessed with. Unperson, easily the best song on the album. Phobia is another favorite. Is Everybody Going Crazy is also another favorite, although I think it's definitely, like, lost something in more listens, if that makes sense. Like, the first time I heard it, I liked it a lot more than I do now. All the other songs on the album, I would say, are just okay. I'm not really vibing with them too much. If I listen to this album more, I might get into it more, since that seems to be the case for most of their music with me. And I don't think there's anything that I particularly dislike. I don't know, I expected more songs to, like, jump out at me, I guess. So, just putting it in honorable mentions. If you're into, like, softer rock stuff, you'll probably like it enough. And the last thing putting in here, this is the only, like, R&B thing that I'm listening to, because I don't really listen to R&B that much. This is Lost in June by Pip Millett. Really cool album. I found it when I listened to the single Heavenly Mother, which according to my Spotify Wrapped is, like, one of my top 5 songs. I don't remember listening to it that much, but I guess maybe I did. I don't know. So it's a really cool album if you're into R&B. Definitely for me, not something I'm going to listen to all the time, which is why it's not in my, like, most enjoyed albums. But I did enjoy it when I first found it, and if I'm ever in the mood for that type of music, I'll definitely listen to it, because I think it's really good. Alright, so I think that's enough talking for today. I'm going to shut up now. If you have anything you want to recommend, leave it in the comments. If you are part of a band and you want to self-promote, feel free to do that too. And with that, hope you all have a wonderful day. Hope you all have a wonderful 2021. And I hope it's better than 2020. Because I don't know about you guys, but my 2020 was horrible. So I'm hoping for a better 2021. And I hope the same for all you guys. So yeah, have a good day. Have a good new year. Have a good time listening to music.